Okay, let's go over this game quickly. Wow, I think the pre-game was longer than the game itself. Yeah, the pre-game and draft was 23 minutes. The game was 20 minutes. 22 minutes. Wow, okay. So I'm just going to skip over draft a little bit because there's not much to say, I think. I mean, I'll give my thoughts. We can talk about draft a little bit. I mean, like, their comp... Like, this is fine. This is very LCK, you know? Their coach was watching LCK and he thought, wow, these champs are broken. These champs are broken. This is like an LCK draft. I mean, this is something T1 would probably draft, to be honest. This is just all 5 OP champs from LCK. This is... There's not a lot of teams who can answer Draven into Yuumi. But Hans Sama is one of them. I think Cars, he might be able to do it in EU. I think there's a couple of LPL and LCK carries who can do it as well. Yeah, it's not a risky answer because I think you have so much kill pressure that you zone them level 1, you stack waves, and I think you are like you're like winning the lane, but you're not outscaling them. I think you just have to make sure you get ahead early or like stack Drakes. It's kind of similar to Kalista in a way, but Draven's just harder to pull off. The K'Sante into Jax, I don't mind. I mean, they're just picking skirmish heavy champs, right? Like Jax will just fight K'Sante melee matchup non-stop, but it doesn't really matter. I was actually surprised they went Viego here. I thought they would go Elise. I don't know. I feel like it would speed the game up a bit and make your dives easier. But Yike is one of his most played champs is Viego, and it's his like super comfort champ. So, and it wins really hard versus Sejuani. Like if you get Blade on Viego or Kraken Slayer, like Sejuani's head gets absolutely split in half. And then I like Akali. The reason I like Akali here is because they have double AP mid jungle, so Merc Treads have value. And their only CC is basically Sejuani ult and Yuumi ult, so there's nothing to stop Akali. As long as you're good at playing around Azir ult, there's no like lockdown for Akali, like you can do whatever the fuck you want. Also, I was a bit scared for G2 because they had no mid push, but something I actually learned yesterday is it doesn't matter how much mid push you have, it matters how much the enemy mid can impact their own mid push. And I never really looked at it through that lens. As much as it's a very obvious thing to think about, what is Azir going to do if he has mid-push? Like, he can hover, but can he really roam? Like, if this guy roams bot and Akali gets a push-out, like, the lane is lost. I can tell you for a fact. From my experience as a mid, if you give Akali one wave free, where she can just push in and base, your lane is fucked, because you've just spent all your time poking her, you roam bot, you have nothing for CC early pre-6, and then she gets a free buff and base, and now you're fucked. Hey guys, it's Caedrel. I'm going to be pumping out loads of YouTube content, but I noticed that a lot of you aren't subscribed. There's going to be a graphic somewhere. Maybe my editor put it up. But if you could subscribe, it really helps. I really appreciate all the support on the videos recently. I'll try to be covering all the major regions across the world as much as I can. And yeah, thanks again for watching the videos. Enjoy, bitch. So that's my thoughts on drafts real quick. I don't even think we need the ×2 speed this because the game is so quick. I actually think Razork does really good early. BB is walking up because he knows that Sejuani has to start topside. They fake leash bot. So, I mean, Razork's playing against information. Enemy jungler knows where he is and they fake leashed. So it's like, it's already like information game is dog shit. This is the level 1. You just walk up past the wave. Nautilus sits in a bush and hooks. And if he hits, Zeri has to use barrier or something, or they have to use exhaust. Like, it's a free lane. I mean, Respect will try on the exhaust, but the only time Zeri can walk up is as the wave is coming. She can use the wave to block, so she can last hit. But when the wave settles, she has to run away and stand still. So, I mean, what can she do? Using exhaust was bad early. I mean, it's good if they can chunk Draven, but they couldn't. And also, I think he's going to always cleanse exhaust. He has nothing to cleanse pre-6 other than exhaust, so I don't think it's ever going to change much, whether they have exhaust or not. So Yike does 3 camps into bot side. Razork's pathing here was pretty smart. Maybe he could have skipped Krugs and like tried to punish. Now, there's nothing else really he can do. All he can do really is just lane bot. This is basically it. Just sitting next to the tower, hoping Reckless can get all these last hits, but also staying out of experience range so he doesn't fuck the lane. It's important that he doesn't get experience here. And I think that's what he's doing really good. And then if they commit, then he can just run to tower. The only issue he has now is every time he bases, bot wave is either bouncing, because this bot wave will bounce now. And then his bot lane needs help to push out. So the reason it bounces is if you watch the 2 range creeps, they'll stay alive. And now you have a situation where this wave is bouncing, 100% bouncing. So G2 could just hold the wave here, and there's nothing they can do because their jungler's not bot. Or they can just push in again and dive them. Solo lanes don't really matter. I mean, mid matchup's really hard early. But this is a situation where it's like, if I'm Azir and I want to roam bot, first of all, how much can my champ help my team? Well, it can't do shit. Like, your champ's useless. And second of all, if I do that, then Akali can push this and base for free. And it's so bad for me. Hans Sama and Mickey, they can do whatever the fuck they want with this wave. They can push this wave or they can stack this wave. They actually thinned the wave to make it even. Not sure what that achieves, but Razork runs to mid to bot. Here, I think he fucked up a little bit. I think he should be level 4. Like, it's just weird what he's doing here. Like, he can never walk into bot side river. He just needs to be bot when they have a wave that they can dive on. So this from Fnatic, it was good. It's just good. Like, Reckless this is fantastic. Good. Viego no flash. Great. By looking at this, I think Reckless is the one saying fight. Looking at player movement. Look where Razork is. You think he's saying fight? He has no Q, no W. I think Reckless is like hitting them, saying, no, we can win, we can win, we can win, we can win. In my opinion. And then, like, the game is doomed. Now, the question is the game lost from this, right? Now, in theory, not really. It's not over, but like, practicality-wise, it's so hard to win the game because you're as a jungler, right? These solo lanes that you're playing around, Azir, Sejuani versus Akali, you have no kill pressure. Sejuani Cassante into Jax, you have no kill pressure. Yuumi, is it a roaming support? No. If she roams anyway and goes on top of Sejuani, are they like insanely good at killing or making picks? No, because like you're a tank jungler and a fucking Yuumi. There's no one that Yuumi can go on, like, I don't know, let's say you had like a Wukong or some kind of like Grave, something that actually has damage, where you can start forcing things. You're just a full tank, and even if you get ahead, it doesn't change the game. Like Sejuani getting a kill here, it's just an extra Ruby Crystal. You think that helps the game? No, it doesn't. Also, why is Humanoid running bot here? He's scared of caps, but I think they should just run up. Maybe they thought they could collapse on bot, but I don't know who's collapsing on who here. Reckless is also playing really far back. I just think, like, what is Fnatic doing here? Like, what is Rux and Reckless doing? I actually think they can maybe fight this. Maybe. Small chance. I mean, at least they can try. You know, like Razork, if Yuumi goes on top of him, exhausts one of Draven's autos, presses E, maybe they can kill Mickey in 1-for-1 with no flash. Like, what is everyone doing? Can we just, like, help? 3 auto attacks and he's dead, actually. Like, I don't even know if they can help. And now look at bot wave state. Like, how can Reckless lane? Top is doing good, like Wunder is doing good, Humanoid is doing his job. To be honest, what they need to do, actually, what I think they should do is, if I was Fnatic and I was Razork right now, I would help them catch this bot wave. It's horrible. No, they can't. This timing is so bad. There needs to be a way that they can take Herald or like lane swap or put bot lane top or just send Wunder bot and have him sit on the tower. And what you can do sometimes in pro play is if you can get one wave pushed in bot, like 7 minutes into the game, and make it crash, what you can do with your bot lane is base, run top, push out the next wave, and then when the enemy bot lane pushes out and base and runs top, you crash that wave and base again, then you run bot, and you push out the next bot wave, and you just keep mismatching. Honestly, you can mismatch really easy in pro play. If your jungler's on your side, and you just keep pushing out waves and basing, it turns into a guessing game. Now, the play that the G2 would then do is the way you break their fucking like dodging around of just perma lane swapping is you just send your bot lane mid and push out and start hitting mid tower and then going to Drake, like forcing them to have to come to you. And if they don't, then they lose like Drake. Then you push back to mid wave. You go to Herald and caps his bot, right? You put your Akali into the Zeri Yuumi. You let them do whatever the fuck you want, and then you just fist their mid tower, for example, or you just start every neutral, but. Like, I think the only thing that Fnatic can do is just push out one wave with Sejuani or catch one wave, base, run top, and just keep doing this until the game is 20 minutes into the game. And they will probably lose towers, and they probably won't be able to cross-map very well. But matching is just doomed. Like here, Fnatic have 3 options. Option number 1, Drake, to slow the game down a bit. Option number 2, Zeri Yuumi base, and they run top and shadow this fucking Cassante and take over his lane. Option number 3, dive bot. Like, I guess that the dive bot is the highest risk, highest reward, because if this guy dies, then the game is really winnable. If you get Drake, it doesn't change much. If you lane swap, it's fine. They're just going to herald your bot tower. But if you can get this dive off, the game's won. And they play it correct. Like, there's not much to do. The only criticism I would say I have here is they don't use Sejuani ult like this. They should walk up with Sejuani, W, Q, auto, E, ult, like throwing the ult and cleansing, like that's it. There you go. That's it. That's the dive done. That's all you're gonna get. I mean, you can Q him now and get his flash, for example, But I don't even think Hans has the flash here, to be honest. But it's like irrelevant. Also, Zeri was tanking tower, which is like not great. But yeah, small. I mean, Sejuani should be dead there, right? Like this Sejuani. If Mickey hit this hook, Sejuani's dead. I can tell you, Draven kills him in 3 auto attacks when he hits Kraken Slayer. It's like an impossible game. This is a small thing. So Caps knows his jungler is topside, and what he does here is because mid has no flash. What he does is he all-ins him. 2 things happen here. 1, Humanoid dies. 2, Humanoid gets so low and doesn't have TP that Caps can push in a wave and they dive him. So option number 2 happens. So then you see Caps has a freeze here. You see that small thing. Caps' wave is actually pretty good here. He could just leave the wave as it is and let it freeze. But instead what he does is he just pushes it. Okay? So as he pushes that wave, he calls for Yike. Look at all these pings. You see all these pings? He's saying, look, I chunked him enough. He's free dive. And then... like, how can Azir live? No flash, no ult, like 1% mana, and he can't even walk up to the wave and push back because he can't even put soldiers. There's his combo, and then yeah, kills him. So, good play. Like, Caps is getting involved in things, even though Caps didn't get kill participation there. Like, he's making plays. Mickey ignites, stops recall. I mean, this ignite is really good by Mickey. Like, it's so good. You have no idea how good it is. It's like, this ignite is so fucking good. It's not even troll face. They want to reset right now. Maybe they even want to run top. Like, small chance maybe they want to run top. Small chance he wants to get Berserkers and be in time for the next bot wave. So what happens when Reckless gets ignited? It gets awkward. Because he either stays and catches this wave and loses his whole tower, or he bases. And now, as an AD carry, I'm just going to go back one more time. I know I've been skipping around a lot, sorry. As an AD carry, this situation right here, seeing an entire bot wave come in and basing right in front of it is probably one of the worst feelings in the world. Maybe that applies to every laner. But just having to stand here and base while the wave comes in, it's... yeah, you know the game's doomed then. So the thing is, Fnatic have really good scaling champs. And so their whole concept of their comp is to not fall behind, well, their 3 men at least, is to not fall behind. Or at least like cover as many dives as possible. They've given way too much over to G2 here. And one mistake like that can cost you the game against a good team. You know, a bad team might scuff a dive and then you're back in the game. But as long as G2 don't int and don't make a mistake, then there's not really a way that they can come back in the early game at least, right? Like, they'll get small windows. They had the small window for the bot dive. Right now, they'll get a small window as well. Like, in terms of setup, the game is not too bad right now. They have triple pink ward and they have a bot wave pushed out. So the Zeri Yuumi can do something now. They could base again and run top. They could run mid here and take over with Caps and then run top afterwards, have him stack a wave, try to dive top. But this will never net you anything. What will happen is as soon as you're running here like this, they'll push in bot, they'll start hitting your tower, and then BB will just back off. Right? Do you think you can action top lane here? You don't really have any CC. You're not playing like Kai'Sa Leona or anything. You're playing Zeri Yuumi. That's the problem with the scaling. So here you just have to stand here and watch your bot tier 1 get killed. A lot of times in pro play, you'll see when a Herald is bot, they'll either be able to defend it and stop the Herald because the game is in an even or playable state, or they'll be diving top and they'll be taking top tier 1, but they can't do either. Their cross map is a gank onto Caps, which gets red pretty quickly. I think Caps called for it. And as much as Caps dies, like what they commit for this play is so worth it for G2 because of how much pressure, how much prior they have. This was really unlucky for Rux. I think I said it on the cast, like, I don't even think Mickey was looking for Rux here. He just ults Humanoid, and like you can tell he wasn't looking for Rux. So like, as much as Mickey kinda sees Yuumi here, look, you'll see he pings him right there. He sees a ping. You can tell by his movement that he doesn't even give a fuck about where Yuumi is. Because look, he's flashing and running in the direction that Azir should flash. And then he sees him on reaction, so... this was just really unlucky. And you might ask, why is Rux here in the first place? Well, maybe he thinks that when he flashes over, that he can attach and heal and E him, and maybe Humanoid can then escape. Like, maybe he can save him. So I can kind of get why he's here. But this is just another Suko Mucho. Like, this death is really avoidable. The bot 3v3 is really avoidable as well. It's just overall. And then, like, Razork is still running. I think Razork got a bit greedy here. He should just base somewhere. He should just base somewhere up here. Just recall. But instead, he thinks... So it's understandable what he does. What he's basically saying is, The enemy team probably thinks that I've based already, and so they won't look for me because it's pointless, because it's a waste of time for them, because I've already based. And they should know that I've already based. But they actually do chase. Yike doesn't give a fuck. He's like, he could be on my camps. Shocker, he's on his Krugs. And, I mean, it's just a bit int by Razork. Like, there's no big win by taking away a 2k gold lead Viego's Krugs. But, so now you're basically in a game where you're down like 7k in 12 minutes. Draven has BT Kraken Slayer while you have a Noon Quiver. The game is basically done. They have vision everywhere. They fucking destroy you in every lane. But here, this setup right here is how you deal with the ping pong, you know? The Draven Nautilus is mid, and your Azir gets dove on every wave. If Viego's here, while your bot lane is ping ponging around the map, you can just do this, and the Azir would be 0-10. Yeah, I was actually surprised that G2 did this. I thought they would push out one more mid wave, but they just pushed in mid and ran bot, and that's it. It's just that simple. You just did it. Like, I thought they would wait one more wave because Caps had to really fast push this as quick as he could to help them sync up. So I think maybe their timing was bad. But overall, this is really good what they did, to be honest, G2. Like, you can see this is a 5-man play. The reason this is a 5-man play is because Caps is stacking a bot wave. Broken Blade pushes out top. They fast push mid and Broken Blade moves down. So, like, the actual map play is good because what happens is he takes over this mid wave that's coming in. They take over this bot wave that's crashing. So it's a really cool segment. I think they mistimed it a little bit because bot wave hadn't crashed yet, and I think maybe they could have done it on the next wave, but it's whatever. It's just taking tier 2s at 13 minutes with these kind of macro plays is really hard. You know, if this is 23, 24 minutes in, that's a really good play. Boom, tower dies. I think they just get a bit greedy for this bot tier 2 on the next time. But G2's like overall map movement is good. I wonder who the voice is in G2, because from what I know about like Mickey and Hans, for example, is the reason the bot lane struggled, from what I heard in 2017, was because they both didn't talk much. You know, neither of them was a strong voice. I don't think Caps has like a super strong voice either. He just probably says things every now and then. Broken Blade's top lane. I don't know how much Yike talks. But I guess the thing is, Hans and Mickey were like teenagers when they played together. Now they're really mature, I think. I think that's what solved a lot of the things that maybe they lacked back in those days. Lacking experience and lacking voice. Maybe said Hans is communicating a lot. Wow. Yeah, I remember Hans was never like a super shot caller, you know. I can see him talking right now, but I remember he was a very shy like person and let people around him do the talking. But I think the way League of Legends works is like if you're 4.4k gold ahead of your opposition like role, it's very natural for you to just start talking, saying what you want to do. So what do they do out of base? They just run mid to top. It's interesting how G2 play the map. I think a lot of teams here would get sucked into like Akali hovering for one wave around Herald. When it's secure, just running bot and catching this wave and pushing to tier 2. But he has no TP, so I guess Caps thinks the only way that they lose the game is if his team plays from mid to top, while he has no TP on side lane, and they try to 1-3-1 at 15 minutes in the game, then there's like small chance they can lose the game. So instead he just hovers mid, pushes out the wave. And I think he collapses top afterwards. Because they just want to keep forcing. So he just completely ignores bot waves. I mean, yeah, I just plays it good. And as much as Caps isn't doing much here, he's forcing them back, which is good. Like, he didn't get anything for it, but I think what he's doing is really strong. And then oh my god, is Broken Blade basing and catching bot wave in time? It's so beautiful. Oh my god, I'm gonna bust a fucking nut. It's actually like... I'm surprised I didn't push that top wave out, but... Crazy. Look, that bot wave is about to crash, and look who's there. He maybe misses like 1 or 2 melees. And now their next objective is bot tier 2, they're pinging it. It's crazy. Like, what the fuck? Like, everyone is on the same... Everyone is doing the same play, and they're always hovering to each other. Now Broken Blade will start stacking bot waves. It's just smooth as fuck. Caps hovers, 4-man top, ignore bot waves. Caps comes, force down the tier 2, in between 2 towers. If they int, get kills. They're just playing for Herald anyway. They just want to make sure the Herald lives. Bot wave slowly coming in. Broken Blade knows his job is done here. He just bases when Hans is hitting top tier 1. Runs bot as the Herald crashes, and then they take next tower. And it's just crazy. Then they're doing the same thing again. They're going to do the same thing again, but now they don't have Herald, so it's just a bit more complicated. Wow, they can just run it down mid at 17 minutes into the game. If they walk up, they get dove. So they just got bot tier 2, they just got mid tier 2, they just got top tier 2 in the space of 3 to 4 minutes. Like that's what snowballing's all about. You know, a lot of teams would split up there. And I think the important thing is they do two things. One, they're together, which is important because they're always one lane away from each other. You know, Caps is one lane away from top, BB is one lane away from mid when they're grouped. And also they're not dropping creeps. This wave is bouncing. The previous play, bot wave was bouncing. And when the play is done, one person is ready to catch. So when Caps is grouped mid and helping them push out mid for tower, and he's hovering, Caps just goes top and catches this wave whenever he wants. He can even leave this wave. You know, it's pushing in. As long as he is on the right timer to catch it, then he can do as many plays as he wants. Like, he has no need to like instantly push this. He can do it whenever he wants. And if you're sitting there thinking like, hey, Caedrel, what does Fnatic do? Yeah, there's nothing to do. There really isn't. When a team is playing, like, there are states in League of Legends where if they play correctly, which is not perfectly, because that word is, I hate that word perfect. It's just, that word never exists in any world of League of Legends. I think if you play League perfectly, then I think you stumbled into, like, what is it? I think if you ever did something perfect in League, you probably did it by accident, because I don't think there's ever such thing as perfection. But I think they played it correctly, and if you play it correctly, there's nothing you can do. And correctly means playing to the right place, but also playing to avoid their plays. And Fnatic's only plays are like making a pick over side while 3 of them are mid, or trying to punish a dive, which would just come from G2's mistake. This is just a bit in from BB. Like that is a mistake, I guess. It's a very small one, but if BB doesn't jump in here, there's no play to be made ever. If he's just hitting the creeps, you know, if he QRs, he has a Q, like, Caps in base, they haven't pushed the next mid wave. Just a small mistake by BB. Such a tiny one. But it turns into an int train. You see how one small mistake of just jumping in turns into this massive fucking int fest where BB flashes away, Caps TP's in, Fnatic chases, they put down the Azir tower, then G2 think maybe they can dive them, and this all comes from BB just going forwards. Yeah. That's the only pain when you're ahead. Because you're not in a sequence, you know? You're not in a, this is the next objective, we're gonna push in this wave and move there. You like gets thrown a curveball and it's like, well, we have an opportunity now that we didn't really have before, should we go for it? And that's how you can make mistakes. You go off script. And going off script can make the game end a lot quicker, or it can make you throw the game. And here, I mean, it's just a lot of gold over to G2. We do a little bit of inting. But they don't give a fuck. They just come out of base and start Nash. And Mickey does good here. You can see his hook on Razork as he tries to steal. He has no chance. Then Razork flashes in thinking he can kill Mickey. But yeah, this is where them being too far behind comes in. I mean, Yike just plays it really good. Like, his mechanics are just good. Gets kill onto Wunder. Flashes, unstoppable. Q, ults with auto. Like, I mean, he just plays it right. Yeah, I don't think there's much more to go over. Like, there's no more plays left. You're down, what, 15, 16k gold in 20 minutes? G2 is looking really scary. G2 is looking like, I don't know if I've ever seen a team look this fucking psycho in my life. Like, their bot jungle is just insane. Who does G2 play against? I think G2 plays Astralis today, so it's not... But it's a very G2 thing to like look incredibly dominant and lose to Astralis today, so we'll see. But yeah, Mickey said in an interview that he thinks this G2 can be better than the 2019 version. And the reason I hate it when someone says that, because I've heard a couple other people say that. I love Mickey, but the reason I hate that is because G2 2019 won both Spring and Summer and MSI and came second at Worlds. So if you're doing better than that, then you're telling me that you're going to win all 3 splits, you're going to win MSI and win Worlds. That's what's better than 2019 G2. It's like, maybe as a team they're better, but as achievements, can they really do that? Like, that just sounds so far-fetched to me that an EU team can win MSI and Worlds when no Asian team has ever done that, like in the same year. I think a team did win Worlds and then MSI, but they never won MSI and then Worlds. Okay, well, we'll see how they do. We'll see how they do for the rest of the year. They are looking good though.